Askew and this fabulous panel on Murderbot. Everyone have fun. Sharon, you're gonna want to be in this one. Just want to make sure you get captured.
Thank you. I don't want to be captured.
I've already captured your heart, baby. It's too
Well,
late.
it's true.
It's too late.
It's too late for me.
I'll see you later. Bye.
I'm surprised we outnumber the audience on this one.
I'd rather not, it's Sunday morning.
It
It's
is
Sunday
Sunday.
morning, it's early, but we're here.
Hopefully, once they've checked out, they will come and
Yes, that's true.
give a panel.
I have a question for you. So do you ever directly address your live audience?
Yes,
Okay,
100%,
okay,
absolutely.
okay. So we should tell them right now that the panelists do in fact outnumber the audience, but it's Sunday morning and that's not unknown.
And not enough, it's Sunday
We
morning,
have more.
first panel of the morning,
Today, I don't know.
last convention day. And this is a convention that likes to stay up late and gossip about books.
Yes.
And so,
Right, 2 a.m. Asimov discussions were happening, I'm sure, and positive. I wasn't having them, but they were happening. Yeah, I was talking about Gail Carriger at 2 a.m., that's my one.
oh, I was asleep.
Does she know?
Does she know? Maybe, possibly. So, right, good morning, everybody. Hello, and thank you for being here for the first panel of Sunday, the last day of the con. And I think we have now reached parity, the same number of people in the audience as here at the panel table. So, thrilling. I am falsely perky because I've had 5 cups of tea. Sharon, would you like to get us started by introducing yourself and we'll move down the row?
Hi, I'm Sharon Skinner. I am an author, a book coach, and a freelance editor. I write mainly speculative fiction, but I write across age categories, so I'm published in picture book all the way up through middle grade, young adult, and adult. And that's a little bit about me.
I'm Jill Knowles. I write fantasy, horror, and really trashy romance novels. And
Well, somebody's got
I
to.
absolutely love the Murderbot series, so I pounced on this panel.
My name is KJ Kabza, and I write short science fiction and fantasy. I've been writing for about 20 years and selling my pieces to places such as FNSF, Beneath Ceaseless Skies, Strange Horizons, and others. And I am on this panel because when I encountered the Murderbot books, I read the first 4 kind of all at once in this fever dream a few months ago. And I have the memory of a snail, so when it comes to media and remembering what I've read, so my impression was one of giddy delight. They've all kind of been shmammed together, so I'm here to give very spirited, if ill-informed contributions. I will probably encounter spoilers, because again, I've only read the first 4 books. I have never seen the series, but with any luck, I will willfully forget the spoilers that I have learned, but we'll find out what happens.
Just remember, baldness is all.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Madam Askew, and I'm incognito as my doppelganger this morning, who's not English. And I'm a weird gremlin on the internet, and I like to make people laugh. And I'm a huge fan of Murderbot, so I'm thrilled to be part of this panel. So thrilled I wrote the panel, and so I'm excited to be here with my lovely chums.
I'm excited. My name is Diana Terrell Clark. I do write on occasion when I'm not stuck. Also, I run this page on Facebook called Dread Punk Equals Gothic Horror. It has an accompanying Instagram page called Dread Punk Baba Yaga. Yes, my family calls me Baba Yaga, no lie. And I read a lot. I do happy reviews on my page. It's mostly a horror and comedy page. So people can have a break from the world and also a bit of horror if they like that. But yes, I have read through the Murderbot series as much as I could, and then each book as they came out, each novella as they came out. I've consumed the television program, and I adore Murderbot. I adore Murderbot.
So welcome everybody to this first meeting of Murderbot Anonymous. Going to talk about our obsessive relationship with Murderbot and how we have boundaries. So
Was not expecting that pairing, okay.
So, going down the line, could you maybe share how you first encountered Murderbot and what inspired you to pick it up?
Okay, so I first encountered Murderbot because it was recommended to me by a friend of mine who we recommend books back and forth. And to be honest, I read the first book and I was like, meh. And it's like, huh, I did not feel as engaged as I think a lot of people did or do with Murderbot. I don't think I would have picked up the second book had another friend of mine also not encouraged me to do so. And I trust both of these people implicitly, and so I picked up the second book, and then I was done. I was done in, because it was that second book that helped me to see that character arc, because I wasn't seeing it in the first book. I had a lot of trouble engaging and relating to Murderbot, and since I'm a character-driven writer, most of everything I read is very character-driven, and I had trouble getting that character in that first book. And they're small. They're barely novellas. And so I read the second one, and then I just started. It was bonbons from there.
I kind of, same thing, a friend of mine recommended it, and our group of friends, we always tease her that she's like Mikey in the old Life commercial, because she didn't like anything. And if Vicky recommends it, I'm gonna read it. And I inhaled the first book and then went back to the store the next day, bought up to, I think the first 4 novellas were out at that point, and pre-order them as they come out. There is a new Murderbot coming out in May.
So
I
excited.
have it pre-ordered.
So excited.
I first heard of Murderbot through kind of just the buzziness of general discussion. I, at the time, was very active on Twitter. I have since left the platform for Blue Sky, but there was a time when an awful lot of writers were on Twitter, and it seemed like everybody was talking about this series. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. And I read the first one, and I loved it. There was something that prevented me from going out and buying the second one. I might have had like another book in the queue or something. But when I remembered that I loved the first book and wanted to read more, as I said, I have like the memory of a snail when it comes to media. So I had to reread the first one, and then I remembered, why I loved it, and then I burned through the next 3, and then took a break, and now I've like forgotten a lot. But it'll be great, because then when I pick it back up again, I'll have an excuse to read the first 4 all over.
Wonderful. So I've been a fan of Martha Wells since like the late 90s, early 2000s. And so I'm really keen on her style of writing. And I knew she'd come out with this series, Murderbot. And I was afraid, because I love Martha Wells. I was like, it's going to be real good. And this robot apparently is murdering people. And the world's really hard, so I don't think I can let Martha Wells take me down this journey where I'm like gutted by a murderous robot. So I've been like staying away from it out of fear. And then in January of this year, I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's read about a murderous rampaging robot. Maybe that's the right flavor. And I think we all know January was a month in this year. And so I picked it up and I was like, oh no, it's really good. And I love it so much. And then I read the whole thing in a week, all of the books up to that point. I consumed in a week. And then I was like, I'm just going to reread them again. And maybe that's a mental health crisis, but I have read the series 7 times since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, same.
From beginning to end.
I feel better knowing that I'm not the only one who's about to go back and just redo the whole thing.
It's
so
a
good.
comfort read.
They are a comfort
But
read.
I love reading on Audible because I love being read to,
Yeah.
and I wasn't read to enough as a child apparently. And the voices they have in the Audible,
Oh my gosh.
they are just perfect. And I don't know that I'm on the spectrum. I've never been tested, but I have at least 2 children who are. And Murderbot is definitely on the spectrum, and I love him. But I started because I get recommendations, like from people, but also from Audible and Kindle and Nook and wherever else I'm reading, because I'm constantly reading a lot of books, except this weekend, I've hardly read anything.
Well, we've been talking about books.
Yes, and I just started, and it was like, oh, this is excellent. I love Martha Wells. This is really good. Also, I am an enabler. At my work, we have a culture where we can share books, and I have gotten at least 4 of my coworkers into Murderbot.
Oh, doing Lady Gaga's work on the internet.
Yes.
I love that, and I love that we all came to it in a bit of a different way. And Sharon, we're friends, and I really respect your insights into books, and I know that you are someone who coaches people into how they craft their stories. So I found it really interesting that you were like, I don't know about this first novella, and I think I had read that Martha Wells was only expecting to write the first one, and sort of surprised that people latched on to it enough that she was asked to write more. And so I'm curious, look, Miss Wells, if you're out there on the internet, I really like you, and this is not a mean question, because I'm a fan. But what is something you think changed between book 1 and book 2 that improved your engagement with the character? What was the thing that clicked?
It was the character development. So I don't think there was enough of it in the first book for me. You know, we're all our brains are different. We all read differently, and we all read for different reasons. And often I'm reading as a book coach. I'm reading to see what's out there that people are being drawn to help my clients to understand what the market looks like, and to see how other authors how they use their craft to develop their work. And so I'm always looking for the next mentor text, the next book that does something really well that I can explain or use as an example to articulate to my clients on how to do that thing really well. And I mean, I did not dislike the book. It's not that I didn't like it. I just didn't love it like everybody else was loving it. And I was like, it's fine for what it was. And I think what she was doing was quite experimental in its way. And I do agree that Murderbot is totally on a spectrum, but Murderbot is also learning. And I don't think for me there was enough of that learning in that first book. That second book for me is when Murderbot really comes into his own and really starts to become a character that I can relate to, that is in that process of developing into more, I don't want to say more human, but yeah, and there's more humanity there than there was in the first.
Yeah, Murderbot's becoming.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
And I really feel like that first book was I'm surprised that she had only intended to write that first book, because that feels so much like a setup. It feels like an establishing book.
Yeah.
Like we're establishing the world and the character and things, and we're not really going to get going until the next book.
Yeah, I wish we could talk to her about it and find out if she
Yeah.
loved the world but didn't think it would be successful, or if she was just trying something, or I don't know.
Yes, I too would really love that, and hope dearly that someday TUSCON soon can invite her as a guest. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. See what I did? So, hi, Joe. I'm sorry, what?
More light?
More light?
I can make a little.
Not good.
I think we're good. It's too early for that kind of nonsense. Sorry. But yes, I think it would be really lovely to be able to ask her. And I know she's been on the record and done interviews and talked about the work, but also she's had this like very long career, right? Decades. And Murderbot was the book that broke her career into a whole new level. So to go from a mid-lister who's beloved by a happy few people who are like ride or die to like this kind of mega success, what a wild journey that must have been. Jill, this one is for you.
Okay.
And I'm not usually this like direct moderator, I guess, but it's early and I'm unhinged, so thank you for your patience. But you write romance, and I love that about you, and also I love romance. And Murderbot is asexual, genderless, and pretty squicked out about human touch, but has this like really special relationship with Dr. Mensah that a lot of people confuse. As a romance writer, do you feel like there's some beats of romance to their friendship?
No. But I am also, have always been very fascinated by gender and gender identity. I was the facilitator for a local organization called Gender Outlaws for 4 years, and we covered everything. And I look at the Murderbot character and, you know, that he is asexual, and people, and I find it really interesting when I read reviews that people keep trying to make him be human and want to be more human. And he is very emphatically not human. He is very emphatically genderless. And I find it so fascinating that, you know, they can't even get the reviews right. You know, that this is very thing. And so that was what engaged me from the get-go, is the internal, what he's feeling inside, and the flat affect where he has to hide everything about himself. And that really resonated with me, within the queer community, and you know, and as a romance writer, I more look for character. If I can get them together and they bang, yes. But
Always good.
I tend to write way more character driven stuff, and for me, that character of, like I said, that there's so much going on the inside and completely dead outside, just really resonated with me. So I don't like it when people try to assume that he's getting together with Mensa. That grosses me out.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be like, you know, trying to want to have sex with your mother.
Oh,
And there's much more of a maternal vibe I get
Yeah.
there.
yeah.
I think people call him, and at work we've had this discussion that he is an it,
He
but
is
he
it.
presents as male, so we never know what we're supposed to say.
The television show screwed me up there.
Yeah.
I was good with the
Yes.
till
And so, I mean, that's a difficulty for us as well. I know it's an it, but I don't want it to be an it because I'm human. Does that make sense? I don't know.
I want to put a pin in that because, Diana, I think that's a really great observation. And I think the question of gender is super critical to the whole story, and also really fascinating at this moment in time. But I also want to torment KJ. So
Thank you, question mark?
I'm going to go down the line a little bit, but I don't want to lose track of that. KJ, we're queer.
Yes.
And I think this is a very queer series. And I think the question of gender is wrapped up in that queerness, but also the found family of it all, right? And I'm curious, because I'm in a bubble reading often. I don't actually engage in the message boards with the youths on the internet.
I don't really know that I do either, but go ahead and ask your question.
But to queer,
Okay.
how do you feel about this? Do you also feel this is a queer story?
I don't know. I feel like implicit in your question is like, what would make it not a queer story? And so like I'm struggling with that question, but also like an acknowledgement made earlier down the panel that like, oh, Murderbot is definitely on the spectrum in some way.
Yeah.
And also, this series just has enormous traction across like all kinds of different fans. I don't know if that means that since it could be looked at as a queer story, that explains the contingent of queer fans who are into it. I don't know if that means that it could be interpreted as something else, which I've just lost what I'm talking about. Can we try again?
No, yes, we can absolutely try again. But
Okay.
also, no, I don't think you lost what you were, I think you were getting at to something, you were getting to something.
I felt a
really-
little galaxy brain there.
Yeah, but it was profound. There's like a kernel in there, and maybe
Yeah.
if we had another gallon of coffee, we'd get there. But yes, I think there's something to unpick there, right? That you could read it through a queer lens.
Yeah, but it's not unambiguously a queer story, I
Right.
think is
Yes.
what I mean.
Yes.
Like I didn't, my impression of it was not, oh my gosh, this is the queer story that I've been looking for, but my feeling was like, oh, this is the like the social introvert story that I've been looking for. That's really the level on which it works the best for me and resonates, because like our first introduction to the character, right, is I think it's like the first paragraph or two in the first book is like where Murderbot says like, I was supposed to be like this horrible killing machine, and that I am a miserable failure, and all I want to do is like lay in my regeneration pod and watch media, even though I've hacked my governor module and nobody can force commands and tell me what to do. I just want to watch TV shows. And I think a lot of us can really latch onto that. It's like, oh God, like I don't want people to tell me what to do, whether explicitly or implicitly through maybe the values of the larger culture around me. I just want to be like left alone with the materials that make me feel my own humanity. And I mean, on one level, like, sure, that's queer, because there are a lot of things that prevent queer people from being able to connect to their own humanity, but the same is true for autistic people, the same is true for people in like older people, the niche areas of fandom before the Marvel movies changed everything and made nerds cool again. I think just so many people feel that sense of like, I can't get along with regular messy humans, and I need art to be the safe space in which I experience my humanity and my emotions. Yes, that's queer, but it's so many other things too.
Yeah, I love that.
That was my better answer. Thank you for giving me a second try.
Oh, KJ, as many tries as you need.
Thank you.
That was great.
That's really good.
Yeah, so Diana, I know that you are like a horror writer, a horror reader. You love horror, and I respect that about you, even though
I'm not afraid. I've had more horror in my life than these movies can ever scare me. So that's usually how it is.
I feel like in both the books and the show, the horrific elements, it's certainly not a horror, right?
No.
But the horrific elements are not monsters or anything like that. It is like the ultimate iteration of laissez-faire capitalism, the corporate.
Yes, the corporation is the evil monster in this story.
Would you talk a little bit about the evil or like that sort of thread of horror that underlies the story, the kind of like existential confrontation of
Because
economics?
Mensa and her crew are so innocent, and Murderbot knows that the corporation is not quite what it should be, and he has a suspicion. It has a suspicion.
Yeah.
I always juggle that too. Anyway, there's a suspicion that there's more than he remembers about what has happened to him, and there are flashbacks, and it slowly uncovers itself as this huge entity that just wants to roll over everything and absorb it, and it doesn't matter what they do. And Murderbot's job is to keep them safe from the world, but he's also not supposed to keep them safe from the corporation. But he has hacked his governor module, and so he can now also keep them safe from the corporation. And in all the books, there's this underlying heavy cycle that you find more and more things that corporations have done in this universe. And I hope one day they're able to like get away from that, or undermine it enough, or I don't know. There's enough corporations in this universe. I don't know that there will ever stop being a huge corporate monster.
Yeah, I don't know that there will either, as much as I'd like there to be a Murderbot uprising. But
Yeah.
also I think Murderbot is a little bit like, I'd like to watch media, not.
But
news or
spoilers, Murderbot also helps other bots hack their governor modules.
Oh, sweet three.
Yes.
Yes. So let's talk about the pronouns in the room, right? Because this, I think, Murderbot is really defined in large part, certainly by its own inner dialogue and how it's talking about itself, but the reaction of people to like trying to anthropomorphize it into a human person with our human expression of gender is a real thing. And difficult. It's difficult, right? Or it's certainly timely and interesting way to get into the conversation of gender for people who haven't had that discussion. So, what do you think, Sharon? Coming back to you, Murderbot. How did you relate to that gender conversation? And when you are like engaging with it as a reader, do you visualize Murderbot in a certain way?
Yeah, so I do see Murderbot more as an it, because that's how Murderbot sees itself. And I do think that the whole calling Murderbot a he comes from the other characters and from some of the experience. For me though, I want to touch back on the idea of the introverted personality. And I think that one of the really fascinating aspects of Murderbot is because Murderbot is not human and is an it. Murderbot, you know, what you said, squicky about being touched and all of those things, but also trying to understand the idiocy of what it is to be human, the greed as well as the innocence that they just keep running around with. They can't seem to see the real world. And what's really interesting, and I think what really got me going in the later books, was that we then got to see the aspect the other way of the humans trying to understand Murderbot and being unable to really grasp Murderbot. So there's this disconnect, although they're trying to work together. And it's really that internal struggle on both sides that I think really engaged me in the story. And that aspect, and I think it's because that is a human experience, because we cannot know what anybody else is experiencing. And for me, that was really powerful and very meaningful. There's a science writer, Ed Yong, who writes about nature and science for the layperson, and he's got a book out called This Immense World, and he talks about the Umwelt of every species. And it's interesting because we can know kind of what our own species are experiencing in our environment, but we really can't. I don't know your background. I don't know what you've been through. I don't know what's going on inside of you. And I think Murderbot does that super well, because Murderbot, we get inside Murderbot and we get to hear those thoughts and see those thoughts and that disconnect. I don't know, I think I've tangented off a
You know
little
what?
bit.
But it was a great tangent, and just because I throw a question out does not mean it's a good question. So I thought you took it a really interesting way. And Jill, like, you brought up gender a bit before, and I'm certainly like interested in your view on gender, but also, and Murderbot, but also like what, to extrapolate from Sharon, what is the thing that helps you engage with our beloved Murderbot?
I was thinking as you were speaking, and one of my coworkers is in her early 20s. She's a college student. There are many, many years between us. And she was saying that her parents are constantly trying to pressure her into taking a certain college courses and what they want her to do. And, and I was telling her I was on this panel, and she's like, oh, I love Murderbot because he gets it. He's, all of this pressure on him that he doesn't want to do. And I think that's why the character resonates with so many different people, because it doesn't define itself as male or female. It doesn't, it just wants to hang back. And every single one of us, I think, I would defy someone to not be able to put themselves in that place of feeling like an outsider, feeling you're outside looking in. I don't care who you are, you've had that experience at one point, even if it was only very brief. And I think that's why the character of Murderbot resonates so much, is that it is articulating the things we feel and can't.
I love that it found acceptance with Mensa, and I just love that they try so hard to make Murderbot feel accepted and respected.
Yes, there's that one novella written more from Mensa's, or short story written more from Mensa's perspective. And it's like, it's sort of jarring at the time because I was like, wait a minute, but this isn't the normal voice. But it was also great to have that like insight from her perspective. Because even through the Murderbot lens, when it's talking about things without understanding a sort of like context of how the humans are trying to like sort of be gentle with this very traumatized being, you can see the work that they're doing to sort of make space and be understanding, and sort of like they know Murderbot has been enslaved and is like traumatized, but it's like, no, this is just my life. Like there's no Murderbot therapy club, right?
And that's how a lot of us are. We've had trauma and we get over it, and then we can talk about it and people look at us like, I know it. And we're like, oh yeah, I guess it's traumatic, but I'm over it now today.
Yeah. Or I just like compartmentalize.
Right.
So, KJ,
Askew.
we've gone some places. We've traveled a long way from my original, like, let's talk about gender.
Oh,
So-
yeah, that was, yeah, okay, yeah, go ahead.
So would you like to talk a little bit about your sort of feelings and like as a queer person, your reaction to the like gender of it all? And in addition, because I have Audacity, what is like so engaging for you about it?
Sure. So with regards to that, so you had asked me earlier, is this a queer story?
Yeah.
And I was like, kind of yes, but kind of no,
Yeah,
there's
right.
different lenses. I will speak to a level on which it works very well for me as someone who's trans. So Murderbot never specifies what pronouns it cares for, and everybody else refers to it as it. And Murderbot just like, yeah, sure, I have no preference. What I find interesting in the later books, you had mentioned earlier the interplay between not only how Murderbot struggles to react to other people, but also how other people struggle to react to it and figure out like, where are you coming from? And some of those interactions, the way Murderbot is treated, and it's just like, I don't like, what? I feel like a question that's maybe underneath the surface of Murderbot's mind is, what exactly do you think I am? And I would have this feeling a lot, personally, before I transitioned or shortly after transitioning, the way people react to you very differently, depending upon like the assumption of the gender that they make about you. If you yourself, this has never been the case for me, but if you yourself feel like a genderless being, as I imagine Murderbot does, then any kind of assumption of gender that it receives from the outside is just destabilizing enough to be like, oh, you don't get me, you don't quite get me. And there's all these like tiny little interactions that happen throughout the books. And even though I don't move through the world as someone who feels genderless, I have had the experience of like, are you reacting to me that way? Oh, like you're making this assumption that I just don't feel, and in this moment, for whatever reason, it's easier to just, rather than like correct or explain. Like I don't know that we ever see a part, at least not in the first 4 books that I remember, where Murderbot, corrects someone and says like, no, like that's not my pronoun, or don't call me this or whatever. In fact, Murderbot struggles to be invisible in the later books when it doesn't want to be perceived as like a bot whose governor module has been hacked. And it's like, how do I look as human as possible? How do I pretend to be human? Do is there like a thing that I should do with my hair? Is there a thing that I should do? I think there's like a scene, or a whole book where it befriends an AI on a ship.
Yes.
Art.
Yes, Art. And like there's this medical bay in this ship, and like Art is telling Murderbot, like, okay, well, if you're gonna pass more effectively as a human, you have to have all these things done to you. You have to like, I think there's a scene where Art is like, you need to have like more sensitive skin receptors, or you need to have like a skin.
Body hair.
Body hair, that's what it is.
Body hair.
And Murderbot is like, what? And so like a lot of details like that I can connect to, like tiny physical changes or physical tweaks that seem alien or necessary, or you go, I don't know how I feel about this, but it's really important to how other people interact with me. I guess I'll do it. Yeah, and also because I haven't seen the TV show, I don't feel tempted to use male pronouns. I did see, this irked me, when they were like, it's a TV show now, and it looked to me like a very male-looking actor was playing the part of Murderbot. I was mad about that, because in my head, I had always visualized Murderbot as someone who deliberately presents gender ambiguous. And so to see like, oh, we picked a male actor for this, I'm like, that's not who Murderbot is, and then I became outraged on behalf of a fictional character.
It's still good,
It's still good.
And
genderless.
I was gonna say, and
You get
definitely
to see
genderless.
genderless.
Full frontal.
Yes, so I love hearing about this from your perspective, KJ, because I've always felt a very strong connection to my gender, and that I was assigned, and so I haven't had the experience of being like, people are reacting to me in a way that is like really unmoored from my sense of self. And I think that is a powerful perspective. I would not have gotten there necessarily myself. But Murderbot is clearly like, I don't know why you all keep thinking I'm a people like you're a people. I'm a people like I'm a people, right?
And even when Murderbot wants to appear to like trick other people to be a people like you're a people, it doesn't even really kind of get it or know how to do it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I hope they buy this,
Yes.
which is a feeling I can relate to.
So great. No, and I think in that book with Art, and I might be misremembering, that Art offers it genitalia, and Murderbot is like, no.
Oh, I think you're right.
I
yeah.
will do many things, but I won't do that. And spoiler, in the show, they have a scene that is like, I think, visually very striking, but also taking this composite of all this conversation into one like little moment in the series where we get a full frontal view of Murderbot, and there's no genitalia. It's very smooth package.
Very
I
Ken
figured
doll.
that they had to be strong to be, or look strong and protective in order to be effective at their job.
Yeah,
That's how I assumed it. I didn't assume male or female, but.
it's interesting because one theory I've discussed with a friend is like your relationship to Murderbot and your internal assumptions about how they present is really affected by how you consume the media. Like if you're an audiobook listener, Kevin Free does such an incredible job. He's an amazing actor. He's also a man and presents and lives as a man. And
The
so
voice is not terribly masculine.
no, Kevin, Mr. Free is like really capable of like doing a good woman, doing all sorts of things, and not feeling like it. I don't want to like ramble on too long about his acting, but it is tremendous. He's really good, but he's a man. And then you've got the TV show, which has one of the Skarsgårds. You can't go wrong. They are all like from the beautiful stock of Stellan Skarsgård, and thank you for your service to the world. And so he's gorgeous, but also he played Eric Northman in True Blood. He's like used to being cast as sort of a heartthrob, sexy, very compelling, beautiful man. And I think people are like, oh yes, him. And it's easy to latch on to that and forget that.
But that brought in people.
Well, no complaints.
Yeah,
He does a great job.
a coworker who does not read, and I've tried to get her to read, she won't read, but she did love the series.
Yeah.
But she was brought in because Alexander Skarsgård.
and I would be brought in to just about anything because of Alexander Skarsgård. But it does, I think, have an impact, and so this one person was like, well, if you read the book, then you see Murderbot as being more femme, and I'm like, huh, interesting. I didn't read with my eyeballs, I read with my ears. Sharon, did you read the words on the page, or was it an audio?
Words on the page. I'm a page reader. So I do so much editing and book work online that when I want to read a book that is not one of my clients' books or one of my books or, a Brick Cave book, I want a book that I can turn the pages, feel the book, get my eyes off a screen. So I read the books in book format.
Does not drive you crazy? The first book is paperback, the second book is hardback. That has driven me crazy.
That doesn't bother me as long as it's physical.
I want them to match.
Because my nightly calm down is to read. And I read for anywhere from 60 to 120 minutes in bed. That's my calm down, that's my, and I know a lot of people don't find that calming, but I also don't consume a lot of media otherwise. It's rare that I get a chance to watch TV. I did see the series because I saw it came out, and so I made time for that. Right now, I don't do a lot of video or film, so it's all books pretty much all the time. Some audio, but I also don't have a lot of, I'm always doing something else. So I don't have a long commute anymore and things like that. So for me, it was on the page, and for me, I didn't get a sense of gender either. It was very, very much the robot, right? And from actually doing the reading.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to something you were saying, KJ was saying about that. Wondering how to be human. I think we all do that at some level. I mean, we're always like, does my hair look just right? And what are people going to think if there's some oil, if some of it's oily? And do my clothes fit? And are these the right shoes for this? And am I going into this restaurant that I've never been in before? How do I act? And I think we all feel like that at times, right? Some more deeply than others, I'm certain. But I know I've always been an awkward child, and it's always been one of those things. It took me years to get to a point now in my older decades where it's like, this is what you get, But even sometimes now, I'm like, oh, I gotta go talk to a bunch of people about Murderbot, and maybe they're not gonna like what I say. I don't know.
Sure, never. But, I think for me, and I'm hearing this, like threads of this from all of you, is that we've talked a lot about gender, and I didn't mean to take us there for too long because it's important but not essential to the story. What I think is essential is this journey Murderbot is on to become a person from being it starts defined by the outside world as a tool with no autonomy, with no choices, with no opinions, with no opportunity to be an individual, and then it discovers the rise and fall of Sanctuary Moon. Beautiful. And it starts to have an opinion, right? And it starts to have feelings on things, and then it unleashes itself. And I think this story of finding out what it means to be a person and not a tool, it's really beautiful. So would you all like to talk a little bit about your reactions or your thoughts on Murderbot's journey into becoming a person?
Well, the first thing I want to say is I love that Murderbot loves this horrible soapy media.
There's a lot of episodes, though. That's one of the good things about it.
Right, but I love the fact that that's what Murderbot loves the most, and everybody else pretty much despises it. And Murderbot doesn't care because Murderbot's like, but it's the best thing ever, right?
Right.
And I think we have our fandoms. I think that we're drawn to, and it's like some people are very, very much Lord of the Rings people, and some people are like, oh, I can't even read the first. I've got a friend, very dear friend, like my very bestest friend, who can't read that or can't watch the movies. She can't. She just doesn't. It doesn't work for her. And so I love the idea, first of all, that Martha made that an aspect of who Murderbot is.
Absolutely.
And I think I just jumped tangent again.
You know what?
Jumped rants again.
Sharon, I gotta say, honestly, I'm being like, I'm like, I'm just gonna ask these questions and like act all like I know what I'm doing, whatever. You keep saying marvelous things. I think you're fine.
Oh, and there then.
Kind of to spin off that, another thing that I really like that Martha Wells has done is, as he's corrupting the other AIs.
Yes.
And he'll mention, he loves the rise and fall of Sanctuary Moon, but Art, the ship AI,
Yeah.
likes different soap operas.
Yes.
And then, trying to not spoil, there is a bot that gets freed later on.
Is there anyone here who hasn't read these books? You haven't? Oh, okay, no
Plug yours.
But it's okay.
Well,
I don't mind a spoiler.
He gets, they get clones, versions of his memories. And they each, they like something else.
Yeah.
And I really like how that, we all have this shared thing of media, whether it's books or television or music videos or whatever. But we all like different things. And there's crossover. And I love that all the people that turn up their nose at Sanctuary Moon can identify the exact episode he's referencing.
Yeah.
So true.
But yeah, I think there's so much clever writing
Yeah.
in these books.
Yeah, I'm like low-key obsessed with all of the weird little shows that Martha Wells mentions throughout the series.
And on the television show,
Oh, they show
there are
excerpts.
things that I like and things that I don't, but the Sanctuary Moon sections,
Yeah, they
They
were
show excerpts.
perfect.
real well
So,
done.
it's so good. I was like, look, Apple, you know,
You did it.
we're not buddies, we're not chums, we are not on a first name basis, but you gave me Sanctuary. Thank you very much. And John Cho is just so funny. And I was like, wait a minute, isn't that that's that agent guy from S.H.I.E.L.D. Oh my, Coulson, what are you doing here? Not to give too many spoilers, but they got a great cast to do cameos for Sanctuary, and it's just everything I could ask for. Yeah, I'm obsessed. All right, I took us on a tangent.
You did. Your question was originally about like journey from tool to person.
Yes.
And I find it telling that everybody has so far mentioned like the media piece
Yeah.
of it.
Absolutely.
And I think that is actually where Murderbot's journey begins. The very first bit that we see of Murderbot doing something that's human. What's the first thing you do with your agency? I watch serials. I plug myself into my pod and I watch serials. And again, I've only read the first 4 books, but the first 4 books to me seem a very kind of painful, slow, but natural progression to how to interact with other people and befriend other people. Again, since I read all 4 this one way, and I might be getting some details wrong, but like in the first book, Murderbot almost kind of befriends like Dr. Mensa and her crew on the surface of this planet, and then they save Murderbot from its contract, but then at the last moment it like fakes out and runs away.
Yeah.
And then in the second book, it does make a friend, but it's another AI. It's a ship. So like, okay, Murderbot has made a connection, though it's like not with another person. I think in the third book, maybe it gets hired as like a personal security robot for like a human woman, I think, and she does not realize that it's a cyborg and is like, oh, like, will you hold my hand? Will you cuddle me at this moment when she's really traumatized? And Murderbot is like,
Yes.
I guess. But it's able to do that. It could not have done that in the first book.
Right.
And by the end of the 4th book, it has made contact again with like Mensa and her crew, even if it feels very clumsy and uncomfortable about it. I think when it first meets somebody from Mensa's crew, it just like shows up and is like, hi. And they're like, oh my God, we thought you were dead. We're so angry you ran away from us. And it's like, I'm here now. And you know, it's like it doesn't really know. But like all of that struck me as very, very realistic, because in the real world, it takes time and it's very painful to try to cultivate social skills and interpersonal connections. But from the jump, Murderbot loves, you know, the rise and fall of Sanctuary Moon.
Absolutely.
That never changes. It's always into serials. It's like, oh, I had to like do this. I had to like be on patrol for 36 hours, and in the background in parallel, I put on this serial and I watched it. It was great. And I think that we can all relate to that. I very strongly believe, at least for me, that the purpose of me consuming media, fiction media, was for me to practice how to feel in a safe space that doesn't involve other humans. I can get my feelings out, or I can experience them through a story when an author guides me through this emotional experience. And I can get used to feeling what a feeling is before I try to exist as a human in front of other people who also have feelings. And I get to watch Murderbot do this too. Always like have like serials of media to go back to as it very slowly, like it takes itself out of its safe space and gradually has harder and harder interactions with like other people in the real world.
I love that. I agree with you, KJ. I think that the media is really key to Murderbot's becoming. I see a hand up. Yes?
Hi.
Hi.
I was kind of fascinated to hear everybody talking about gender and gender identity as part of Murderbot, which is something I never ever saw. Murderbot was neutral, it didn't matter. I see Murderbot as an autistic child. Having raised an autistic child, it's like, oh my God, this is my son. So when you talk about learning how to express feelings, to make physical contact with people, with obsession with a particular serial or a particular subject, these are things that a high-functioning autistic kid does. And watching Murderbot develop from I'm a machine to I'm very awkwardly trying to integrate into human society, I've seen that, I've experienced it. So that's one of the big appeals of me for the series.
And I think that's one of the things that like speaks so highly to Martha Wells' writing, is that like you read this and you go, oh, clearly this character is like autistic coded. I read this series and I go, oh, this could be a queer story. And somebody who doesn't have any autistic loved ones and has no exposure to like gender variant identities goes, I love this because this character is just socially awkward. It's just really great how so many different people can see themselves in this work.
A soldier coming back from war, because it very clearly has a lot of post-traumatic stress. And yeah, there's parallels everywhere.
Really beautiful. Thank you so much. And KJ, bringing it home. So good. No, I love this journey into humanity, or not humanity, but into personhood from Murderbot. And the way it happens through Murderbot's love of media, I think is beautiful. But you touched on the friendships, and because I've obsessively read this book, I'm like, oh yes, I know exactly where you are in the series, because we do have this sort of progression of figuring out relationships. In there is not only we have Art, the AI, we have these young people who have been done wrong by the corporate rim, and they're just like, I want my human security agent who's just a cyborg and not a Murderbot robot to like hold my hand and like cuddle me, right? Much to the disgust of Murderbot. And then we get our little Mickey, the robot, in the same like, right?
Okay, yes.
And there's this exchange between them where Mickey's like, I've never had a friend like Murderbot. And Murderbot's like, we can't be friends. I can't be friends with other robots or AIs because they have a governor module, and if a human tells them something, they can't make their choices. I can't be friends with somebody who doesn't have autonomy. And it's like, what an interesting place to come from. I'm a tool to understanding this moment. If you can't make choices, how can you be a person and how can you have friendships?
I have some thoughts. I have some thoughts about the parallels of Frankenstein's monster and Murderbot. Only the evil corporation isn't making just one creature and running away. It is making an army of monsters to do its bidding. The Murderbot has now become self-autonomous and has hacked its governor module and is now doing sort of what Frankenstein's monster did. Learning by consuming media, hanging out with different people, hiding, trying to present itself. I just find that an interesting parallel.
That's a great parallel. No, that's a wonderful, I think a wonderful sort of jump. And I just re-experienced Frankenstein because of Guillermo del Toro, so I'm like, yes, let's talk about it. But I do think there's something there, and also the way that Mary Shelley was like, but of course it will be this perfectly innocent creature who's perfect and loves everything and is kind to deers, and Murderbot's like, no, I kind of hate everything. And I kind of hate everyone because they're stupid and they keep trying to get themselves killed, and I'm tired, and I want to watch Rise and Fall of Sanctuary Moon. Stop trying to get yourself eaten by the planet.
And we don't do that, and they did it.
And they did it again.
Again.
So, does anyone have a time check for me?
It is 10:56 in 4 minutes.
All right, 4 minutes. So, any last burning thought before we wrap up?
I just would like to see her keep going with it. You know, I've been enjoying it, and I know that a lot of times with series, it gets hard for the writer as well as the reader, but I think she's got something really that I'm really enjoying now and I'm really engaged in, and so, you know, I want to put this in the universe that she continues to write these stories because I'm really enjoying them.
Yes, and if you have not read it, read it. If you can watch the show is very good, although I will say, I hated the last episode.
But
Oh,
the casting was so good.
Sort of.
They
did.
Well,
Sort of.
not the, yeah,
Yeah.
But I thought the casting was
yeah, they
Yes.
did a beautiful job on it.
I'm sorry we didn't get to talk about that because now I'm like, let's talk about it. But
I love that Murderbot won them over.
Murderbot did.
Yeah.
KJ.
Murderbot is great. I'm glad you guys like it too. That's my final thought.
Great thought.
I recommend it to everyone, and I've got a contingency of people, so join us. Be part of our
Our fandom of Murderbot. I've been Madam Askew, and these have been my wonderful chums here at TusCon 52, last day, first panel of the day. You've been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sorry we didn't get to your questions, but we were geeking out about Sanctuary Moon. So see you later. There's another panel coming in. You should probably stay for it because all of the panels are great here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yes, of course. Let's do panels together. I survived.
Okay. KJ Cabza, my final.
I was.
You are both either? Yeah. It's a fair question.
Sorry?
Not that says at Women's Day Dead.
Get it to stand up. Okay, perfect. On the table, since there's only 3 of us? On the table?
God. Wow. Sure. It's so tall. Gaming all weekend and you're afraid of a little height? Come on.
Sometimes. And I wake up and I'm like, that great thing that I was working on. Damn, it doesn't actually exist. I remembered it. It was great.
Yeah, there's a little bit forward.
Okay.
It's incredible.